I never believed there was anything scarier than the dark. But that changed the night I checked my laptop and saw a pale man crawling out from under my bed while I was asleep on top of it. And the worst part? My bedroom door was locked from the inside the entire night. I live alone in a small apartment just outside Chicago. The place is old, creaky floors, thin walls, weird plumbing. I'm used to strange sounds, but one night something felt different. At 3:12 a.m., I heard a soft creak. Not from the hallway, not from upstairs, but inside my bedroom. I sat up, listening. A second creak. Then something that sounded like a slow exhale, almost like someone trying to breathe quietly. I switched on the lamp. Nothing. Just my messy room and the usual shadows. I convinced myself it was the building settling, until the noises came again the next night. Same time. Same pattern. Same uneasy feeling, like someone was watching me from the dark. Morning after morning, I began noticing small things out of place. My charger slightly moved. My water bottle on the opposite side of the room. My blanket half on the floor. Nothing dramatic, just subtle, disturbing. But then it escalated. One morning, the chain lock on my bedroom door, the one I always latch before sleeping, was halfway unhooked. That lock can only be opened from inside the room. There were no signs of forced entry. No windows open. No roommates. No pets. The idea hit me slowly, painfully. Someone might already be inside the room when I sleep. After 3 nights of those noises, I set up a cheap USB webcam I had lying around. I placed it on my desk facing the bed, hit record, and went to sleep with a knot in my stomach. That night felt different. I woke up multiple times with the sense that someone was standing next to the bed. But every time I opened my eyes, nothing. The next morning, my hands were shaking as I opened the video. At first, it was boring, me rolling around, changing positions. Normal stuff. Then, around 3:09 a.m., the camera caught a faint movement under the bed. A shadow shifting. A flicker. Eyes reflecting. I paused the video and stared. There was no way that was just my imagination. I hit play again. And that's when he appeared. A pale, thin man slowly slid out from underneath my bed. Crawling on his stomach like he'd been living in that darkness for years. His face appeared first, sunken cheeks, wide unblinking eyes, filthy hair. He moved silently. Carefully. Slowly. Then he stood on his knees beside my bed and leaned over my sleeping body. Just watching me. For 5 full minutes, he didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. At one point, he leaned so close to my face that I could see every detail in the grainy footage, his cracked lips, his shaking breath, his eyes scanning me like prey. Then he whispered something. The mic didn't catch the sound, but I could see the shape of the words. I'm here. After that, he crawled back under the bed. Out of sight. Out of view. But not out of the room. I felt sick. Someone had been hiding under my bed. Watching me sleep. Maybe for weeks. I immediately called the police. They searched the entire apartment, but the man was gone. All they found under the bed were scratch marks on the floor. A filthy piece of torn fabric. An empty water bottle. Signs of someone living there. They suspected he was entering through the building's old ventilation system. Maintenance workers confirmed the ducts were large enough for a thin adult to crawl in. I stayed at a hotel the following night. Thought I'd feel safer. But when I stepped out of the shower later that evening, the bathroom mirror was fogged. And there, written with a finger in the steam, were 2 words. Still here. The hotel security footage showed no one entering my room. A detective contacted me 2 days later. They found evidence of a hidden space inside one of the ventilation shafts near my apartment's basement, blankets, food wrappers, and a few personal items. But the man. He was never found. That night, While packing my things to leave for good, I checked my laptop again. A corrupted video file from the same night had automatically recovered. Shaking, I opened it. This time the camera angle was different. Closer. As if someone had picked it up. At 3:14 a.m., the man crawled right up to the lens. His face filled the entire screen, gray skin, trembling mouth, wild eyes. He stared into the camera deeply, almost knowingly. Then he smiled, a slow, unnatural stretch of his lips. And whispered clearly, "I've been here longer than you think. And I'm not leaving." The screen cut to static. I moved out the same day. I haven't slept through the night since. When I moved into that rental house, the landlord told me only one strange rule. Keep the basement door closed. Always. I thought he was just being dramatic, until the door began opening by itself at 1:17 a.m. every single night, even when locked. And then came the scratching, slow, deliberate, and coming from somewhere deep inside the basement darkness. I found the house online, a 2-bedroom place in Ohio, surprisingly cheap for the area. The landlord handed me the keys immediately, almost too quickly, and repeated that one warning about the basement. The first day felt normal. Dusty, old wood, creaky floors, nothing unusual for a cheap rental. The basement door was at the end of a narrow hallway. Heavy. Crooked. Painted at least 10 times over the years. When I tried opening it out of curiosity, it barely moved, like something on the other side was resisting. I shrugged it off and spent the rest of the night unpacking. It wasn't until my second night that I woke up to something I still can't explain. At 1:17 a.m., I heard a loud metallic click, like a lock turning by itself. I got up, walked slowly into the hall, and froze. The basement door was wide open. Not cracked open, fully open. A dark, cold void yawning beneath the house. I felt a cold draft blowing up from the stairs, the kind that smells like wet concrete and something rotten. I slammed the door shut and turned the lock. Double-checked it. Pulled on it twice. The next night, 1:17 a.m., the same sound jolted me awake. The door was open again. The lock unlatched. Chain on the floor. I tried everything, a chair against the handle, duct tape, even a heavy storage bin. Nothing mattered. Every night at exactly the same minute, the door forced itself open. Something wasn't normal. One night I waited by the hallway, leaning against the wall with a baseball bat in my hand, determined to catch whatever was happening. At 1:17, the lock clicked and the door opened slowly like someone was pushing it from behind. I held my breath. Silence at first. Then it started. A single scrape against concrete. Then another. Slow, rhythmic, like fingernails dragging across the basement floor. Scratch. Pause. Scratch. Not an animal. Not random. It had intention. Direction. And then, beneath the scraping, I heard something worse. Breathing. Deep, muffled, dragging breaths coming from somewhere below the stairs. I called the landlord the next morning, my voice shaking. He only said one thing. Don't go down there. And keep the door shut. His voice wasn't confident. It was frightened. I bought a cheap motion sensor camera and set it up above the basement door. I needed proof. Something. Anything. At 1:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected, basement. My stomach dropped. I opened the app. Frame 1, the hallway. Frame 2, the basement door slowly pushing open. Frame 3, a blurry black shape at the top of the stairs, tall, crooked, like a human silhouette but wrong. Frame 4, the feed cut to static. I rushed into the hallway. The door was wide open. The air was freezing. The camera lay face down on the floor. Something had knocked it off. And then I heard it, a whisper, faint and dragging, coming from the darkness below. Come down. I slammed the door and ran back to my room, locking myself inside until sunrise. By the next morning, I'd lost all patience. I had to know what was in that basement. I grabbed a flashlight, put my phone on record, and opened the door. The temperature dropped immediately. Every step creaked under my feet. And halfway down the stairs, I saw something that made my skin crawl. Long, deep scratch marks carved into the walls, fresh ones. At the bottom, the basement looked empty. Just bare cement, pipes, and an old vent near the back wall. I scanned my flashlight across the room. Then the vent cover rattled. Slowly. Then harder. Like something inside was pushing it from behind. I raised my flashlight. Through the narrow gap, I saw an eye staring back at me. Wide. Human. Unblinking. I stumbled backward up the stairs so fast I nearly fell. I slammed the door, locked it, and didn't sleep the rest of the night. I called the police the next morning. At first, they seemed annoyed, until I showed them the video footage and told them what I saw. They searched the basement, broke open the old vent, and discovered a narrow crawlspace leading to a hidden room beneath the foundation. Inside, they found a dirty mattress, food wrappers, empty bottles, blankets, and worst of all, photos of me. Photos taken through windows. Photos of me sleeping. Even photos I had never posted anywhere. Someone had been living under the house, crawling in and out through the vent, pushing open the basement door every night, and watching me without ever being seen. But the man himself? He was gone. That night, while I was packing to leave for good, something happened I can't explain. At 1:17 a.m., with no one in the house, the basement door handle twisted. Slowly. Deliberately. Then the door creaked open 2 inches, all by itself. And from the darkness below, I heard one final whisper. You shouldn't have come down here. I left the house and never returned. I used to think the forest behind my house was harmless, just a quiet stretch of woods where kids played and hikers passed through. But last winter, something started watching me from between the trees. At first, I saw it only as a blur, a shape standing too still. But the night I finally followed the sound of whispering branches, something followed me back home. Whatever it is, it still knows my name. I lived in a small town in Oregon, right on the edge of the national forest. Hikers loved the marked trails, but there was one path tucked behind my backyard that no one used. It wasn't on any map. Locals called it the Old Timber Route, mostly as a joke. But every time I looked at it, I felt something wrong. The trees along that trail grew so close together they almost interlocked, forming a tunnel of shadows even during daylight. One afternoon, I went out to chop wood and noticed footprints on the fresh snow, large, deep prints leading into that unmarked trail. Not boot tracks. Bare feet. Both human-shaped, and not. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard a faint whistling coming from the tree line. Not wind. Not birds. Someone, or something, was whistling a slow, broken tune. I froze. The sound grew louder, closer, as if drifting between the trees. My dog, Cooper, growled at the window, tail down, backing away. He never acted like that. When I looked outside, I saw it. A tall, pale silhouette standing at the edge of the woods, facing my house. Too tall. Too thin. And perfectly still. When the whistling stopped, it tilted its head, like it was listening to something I couldn't hear. 2 nights later, the snowstorm knocked out power. The woods were pitch black, but the whistling came again. This time, closer. I grabbed a flashlight and went to the porch. Cooper refused to follow. I stepped outside, breath sharp in the freezing air, scanning the darkness. My flashlight flickered on the tree line. And something whispered my name. Not shouted. Not called out. Whispered. Soft, slow, and stretched wrong, like someone trying to imitate a human voice. Aaron. I dropped the light. The whisper came again, from farther up the unmarked trail. My legs moved before I could think. I ran back inside and locked every door. In the morning, my yard looked like someone had walked circles around my home. Bare footprints. Again, too long, too narrow. Almost stretched. They went from window to window, stopping right beneath each one, as if standing there, watching me sleep. There were claw marks along the siding. Not deep, but long enough to notice. That's when I realized something horrifying. The footprints never led away from my house. They ended right below my bedroom window. As if the thing simply vanished. That evening, armed with a shotgun and a flashlight, I followed the tracks into the woods. The deeper I went, the quieter everything became. No wind. No birds. No branches crunching under my boots. A dead, suffocating silence. Then I heard it, behind me. The same whispered voice. Aaron, WHYYY. I spun around, flashlight shaking. The beam caught something crouched between the trees. White. Long arms. Too many joints. Its face was featureless except for a line that split open slowly, forming a mouth. It crawled forward without making a single sound. I ran harder than I've ever run in my life. I made it out of the woods and slammed the back door shut. Cooper barked and hid under the table. But the whistling started again. Right outside. Slow, patient, like it knew I couldn't stop it. Through the window, I saw it standing at the edge of the forest, tall, pale, motionless. Watching. Waiting. I moved out a week later. But last night, at 3:11 a.m., I heard that same broken tune outside my new apartment window. And a whisper, softer than breath, calling my name. Aaron. I found you. I don't think running will help anymore.